Welcome everyone to the Instructional Guide PD. This is Jennifer Prusak, and I just want to say hi to everyone if I haven't gotten to see you yet since I've been back from my maternity leave. On the screen you will see Miss Haley Lynn. She was born on June 3rd, 2018, 6 pounds 8 ounces, and she is doing amazing, and she just started giggling last week. So I'm really excited to be back and be working with you guys, and I'm going to be going through our agenda for the day. K-12 has the same agenda. We are going to be working as a quad site at CK8, and the high school will be working in their teams at the high school. So let's look at our agenda. So our first step is we're going to use the IAG rubric, which is right down here, to audit our Instructional Guide 1.0. So when you audit it, you need to look and see which color are you in. Read the descriptions to figure out where do I fit in this process. If you are in the green, then you get to move on to number 3. However, if you are in the red or the yellow, you need to update your instructional guide to get it into at least the 3 category of green, which means you need to go through it, make sure it's complete, all quarters and semesters, and you have at least some interactive links that takes people to resources. So once you have that all done, then we get to go on to number 3. And number 3 is going to introduce you to our new Instructional Guide Template 2.0. Now, we made a shift to the new template because we wanted to make the instructional guides more interactive and more user-friendly and more helpful for you to search for resources. I want to show you an example here, like the science one. Let's see, this is 6th grade science. Here's their instructional guide. I mean, they have endless amounts of resources. There's so many resources here. But in order to know which standard it's linked up to and where it's at and what vocabulary words and where could I find it on here, and maybe one of these would actually work for a quarter up here, it's hard to see that. So now what we're going to be able to do, I'm going to hop over here. This looks familiar to some of you. These are the CIA document tabs. So now instead of using this instructional guide tab with the link, there's actually the instructional guide embedded in the CIA documents. So this is our instructional guide 2.0. Now, the cool thing about this is now you can see you have all your resources here, but you can sort now because it's in a spreadsheet. So if I select here, these are the titles that I want to sort. I click this little guy up here and it creates a filter so I can sort. Now I can sort by standard, by type of resource, by the priority level, the DOK, the unit, the standard summary, a resource, the summary of the resource, by key vocabulary, or the date that it was last added. Now you'll notice right now this is blank and these say NA and they're red. The reason for that is I tried to do as much work for you guys as possible. So I opened up your instructional guide and I copied this information and I pasted over here. In that process, I found lots of people do their instructional guides differently. So sometimes I was able to understand if it was a resource or a summary. Sometimes I couldn't. Sometimes I couldn't tell if stuff went together or not. So I did the best I could, but there will be mistakes. So this next work session is to kind of clean that up. So the first thing you'll start to do to start to clean this up is you'll start with the first resource, and you'll look at it, and you might have to reference your old instructional guide to remember everything about it. But then you're going to select the specific standard that it is associated with. Okay, so I've switched over to our 10th grade ELA to show you this example. So now we have the NAs here in the red columns, and we have the essential standard column blank. If you click this little guy right there, you should get a drop-down menu of all of your standards. So what's really neat about this new 2.0 guide is if we click a standard, it automatically imports the priority, the DOK, and the standard summary. Now, disclaimer, it will only do this if you've already been doing the work with Karen Bailey on your state standards, doing the real. If you haven't done that yet, this part won't work yet. And that's okay. Once we do finish this, I'm easily going to help you guys set this up to do the same thing. Let me show you an example. Example would be science. As of right now, science has not done any of their state standard work. Therefore, when I come to this one, I get a drop down of nothing. Once this gets filled in, this drop down will get filled in, and then you can go on about your way. So what do I do if I'm one of the content levels that haven't worked with Karen Bailey yet and I don't have my state standards? So skip this part, don't worry about the red columns, but still go through each resource, just make sure that resource is still valid. If it's correct, is there more information I need to add to make it make sense? Do I need to add a summary? Is that the correct key vocabulary? And then update the dates from today that you are entering it. You'll continue to do that. Check links too to make sure they're working. Something I noticed in this one specifically, if I click it, it says there's an error. So that might mean it's not shared correctly or somehow someone copy and pasted the URL incorrectly. So check the links too and make sure they're working and they're shared correctly with curriculum. If not, then you can go back and update those as well. So that's what we're doing if you don't have this information. But if you are like 10th grade ELA, now you can go through and first thing is just assign essential standards to every single resource. Once you've done that, these will be all filled in for you. Now you can go back through, make sure if there's a unit that's missing, add the unit. If there's a summary that's missing, you can add that. That's helpful information. You don't have to have a summary. Key vocabulary, and then the date that it was added, and so that both of these dates would be today because this is the first time you guys are working in this guide. So that's going to be the process today. Now don't get overwhelmed. If you just go through for the first quarter, that's fine. We're going to be doing a couple of these reviews throughout the year. So the goal is just to get started and start getting familiar with this format. So I'm hoping that everyone is finding this new format more useful. It might take a little adjustment, and also if you have any questions about it, anything that you think that might be missing that we should add, if any of these things are supposed to be working for you and they're not, just let me know and I'll take care of this stuff for you. I don't want this part to be stressful for you. The main point is that your stuff's been copy and pasted over. Just verify that it's still what you want to use and add any additional information if you need. And then if you have any new resources from this last quarter, go ahead and add those as well. Let me go back to our agenda. So once you have done that, you are going through those steps that I just talked about, and then finally reviewing your first quarter and updating that template. And at the very end of the last 10 minutes, you're going to click on this link to do a Google form that is just going to have you talk about what you did during your work session. And everyone needs to fill this out, every single individual that participated in this PD. All right, I want to thank you all, and I'm excited to keep working with you for the rest of the year. Have a great rest of your day.